A very good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. My name is VARSHAN THENAGARAN, and today I will be presenting about my case study report, which is based on the case study Families and Educators Supporting Bilingualism in Early Childhood. Ladies and gentlemen, before we carry on with our presentation, I would like to give a heads up where there are several questions submitted by people worldwide regarding the case study report, and these questions will then be discussed during the Q&A session. Thank you. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at our agenda for today, where we will begin with the executive summary or synopsis of the case study, and then we end with our Q&A sessions. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin with the executive summary or the synopsis of the case study, where here I have explained on bilingualism in childhood, especially among Latino families in predominantly English-speaking community. Parents aspire for their children to be bilingual, but navigating between English at school and Spanish at home presents substantial challenges. So, the case study also suggests collaborative efforts between parents, educators, and the community, together with the recommendations which include advocating for bilingual school programs and fostering a positive attitude towards minority languages in early childhood centers. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the issues or ideas that were generally presented in the case study. And that is our executive summary or synopsis of the case study. Moving on to the introduction part, where we delve deeper into the dynamics of bilingualism. Right, bilingualism, as highlighted in our case study report, refers to the profound ability to navigate and proficiently utilize two languages. That is the definition of bilingualism that I've given, and it is not merely a linguistic skill but an invaluable asset that shapes cognitive and social and economic dimensions for individuals' lives. And in this paragraph, we can also take a closer look upon the aims of the case study report, which are identifying central issues or challenges that are faced by bilingual communities in preserving their native languages, as well as to delve into potential solutions that can curb these impediments. Right? So, for example, ladies and gentlemen, the central issues are also highlighted here, which are the dissonance between familial desires for bilingual proficiency and the mainstream educational system's structural inadequacies in accommodating diverse linguistic backgrounds. And that is the introduction part of our case study report. Before we move on to the next part, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at a short video on what is bilingualism to gain more insight on what is bilingualism actually is and how it affects the life of people and what are the components of bilingualism.
Do you speak, write, or understand more than one language? Have an idea how many people are bilingual in the world? The world's population encompasses 40% monolingual and 43% bilingual people, with the remaining being multilingual. That means more than half speak two languages or more. So, what's so special about the bilingual or multilingual brain? Bilingual individuals have been known to exhibit extended concentration spans, as it strengthens the attention system in the front of the brain. By constantly selecting from two available languages enhances powers of concentration. Why does this happen? When bilingual people speak, both their language faculties are activated. However, they rarely make the mistake of choosing a word from the wrong language. This is because the prefrontal cortex focuses on a specific language at a particular moment, making you a more focused person. Does this also enhance the brain's capacity to think and react faster? It is because the bilingual brain has improved cognitive abilities, such as reading, remembering, and thinking. A study conducted by researchers where bilingual and monolingual children were asked to sort shapes and colors revealed that bilingual children were faster at sorting items compared to monolingual children, who tended to react slower when shapes were added. This generally indicates a second language heightens the brain's executive functions, such as planning, problem-solving, and other intellectually demanding activities. Therefore, for kids, remembering a set of instructions to follow while getting ready for school in the morning, or for adults, while driving a vehicle, it's all about shifting and holding information in the mind. Bilingual individuals have denser gray matter. Gray matter makes up the outermost layer of the brain, being home to neurons that process information and release new information. It is important because it allows us to control our movements and regulate our emotions. While being bilingual reflects better health of gray matter, there are positive indications that it may delay the onset of dementia. Bilingual patients were diagnosed at an average age of 75.5 years old, which is 4 years later than monolingual patients, on average at 71.4 years old. What else can your bilingual brain do? It can raise your language proficiency to learn more languages easily because your brain is already primed for learning and adapting to different languages. With that, you can learn about other cultures and broaden your views of the world too. Being bilingual does not necessarily make you smarter, but it does make the brain more active, complex, and healthy. So, why not learn a second language? It's never too late to learn. Apa kabar, ni hao, namaste, hola, annyeonghaseyo.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look on the findings of my case study report, where there are two main challenges or central issues based on my research. Firstly, the significant challenge highlighted in our case study is the scarcity of high quality bilingual programs. Where, ladies and gentlemen, despite the desire of parents to nurture bilingual proficiency in their children, they often encounter limited availability of suitable educational avenues that can foster both their first and also the second language. And an example that I have included in this paragraph is the prevalence of the limited bilingual education issue that can be seen among immigrant families in United States, especially in the states with large Latino communities such as California, Texas, Florida, and New York. Ladies and gentlemen, in accordance with that, I've included the factors of this issue, namely the shortage of qualified bilingual teachers, which makes things more difficult for families to access this kind of programs, bilingual programs. And there are also shortage of disparity or disparity of educational facilities that further impedes the availability of bilingual programs. And finally, the role of government policies and regulations that will substantial influence as they determine the prioritization and the support for bilingual education initiatives. And that is the first central issue, or the first main challenge in the case study. Moving on to the second central issue, which is the inconsistency between parental expectations and the children's language development. As evidenced by the chart of the most spoken language in the world, English stands as the dominant language and also the dominant factor that influences bilingual children's language development or language trajectories. Peer interactions, schooling options, and exposure to dominant languages such as English outside of home significantly influence children's language preferences and their usage patterns. For instance, peer interaction may inadvertently prioritize the dominant language, potentially impeding the development of minority language. Schooling options, ladies and gentlemen, on the other hand, may pose challenges for bilingual children in maintaining proficiency in their minority language, especially if English dominates the instructional language. This, without fail, creates a disconnect between the familial aspirations for bilingualism and the linguistic realities experienced by children, highlighting the complex interplay of internal and external influences of factors on children's language development. And that is our second main challenge or central issue that are found in the case study, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let's explore the actionable strategies that can be taken to address these challenges and these central issues which have been identified in the findings. One key solution to the scarcity of high quality bilingual programs is advocating for their establishment and expansion. For example, bilingual school programs are programs that offer a comprehensive approach to language instruction, providing students with the opportunities to develop proficiency in both English and also their native language. All right, and a good example that I have included of a program that I've included in the case study report is the Dual Language Immersion Program (DLI). So these programs not only support bilingualism and biliteracy but also serve to preserve cultural heritage. And by advocating for the implementation and enhancement of bilingual programs, stakeholders can ensure that children from linguistically diverse backgrounds have access to educational environments that celebrate and support their linguistic and cultural identities. Ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to the next one, let's take a look at a short video on what are dual language immersion programs and how they benefit and what are the components of the programs.
Dual language immersion is a program wherein students learn math, science, and social studies through a second language with the goal of developing bilingualism, academic achievement, and cross-cultural understanding.
Suma es el resultado de sumar números.
Here's how it works. A student begins a dual language immersion track in first grade. The student has two teachers, a teacher who instructs in English and a teacher who instructs in the target language, either Spanish, French, or Chinese. These two teachers collaborate with each other to support student mastery. In first through third grade, students study math, science, social studies, and literacy in the target language. The other teacher covers all other school subjects in English. In later grade levels, curriculum subjects shift between English and the target language, with the ultimate goal of increasing proficiency. The student can continue in this dual immersion track through high school graduation. Through this program, students are able to learn the concepts and skills for the subject areas and develop the ability to read, write, speak, and listen in another language. So why do these programs exist? Research has shown that the optimal time to learn another language is during elementary years. Decades of evaluations have shown how immersion programs help students swiftly master a second language, and years of dual immersion programs in Granite School District have shown children who participate in these programs succeed academically.
Another vital aspect of addressing the challenges of bilingualism is promoting multilingualism and cultural awareness in early childhood centers or in early childhood settings. So here, educators play a very crucial role in creating inclusive environments that value linguistic diversity and actively encourage the use of minority languages. And by incorporating culturally appropriate materials and activities into the curriculum, educators can foster a sense of belonging and pride among students from diverse linguistic backgrounds. Collaborating with parents to reinforce language learning at home further strengthens the support system for bilingualism. And through workshops and informational sessions too, educators can empower parents with the tools and resources to facilitate language development outside the classroom, ultimately contributing to the holistic language development of children. And that is the second actionable strategies or solutions that we can take. Lastly, advocating for equitable bilingual education policies at both the local and national levels are essential to ensure access to quality bilingual education for all students. Right, this involves lobbying for policies that prioritize and support bilingual education initiatives, as well as advocating for adequate funding and resources to sustain and expand bilingual programs. And by working collaboratively with policymakers and community, ladies and gentlemen, stakeholders, advocates can help shape educational policies that promote linguistically diverse and equitable nation, and ultimately fostering inclusive learning environments where all students have the opportunity to thrive academically and linguistically. And that those are the discussions that that I have gone through in the case study report. In wrapping up our discussion on bilingualism, ladies and gentlemen, which is in childhood among Latino families, it's clear that while there are indeed challenges, there are also significant opportunities for growth and development. So the journey towards bilingualism is not without its obstacles, but with collaborative efforts and proactive strategies, we can overcome these challenges and pave the way for optimal language development in early childhood. And throughout our exploration, ladies and gentlemen, we've encountered the profound aspirations of Latino families or immigrant families to nurture bilingual proficiency in their children. And these aspirations are driven by a deep rooted desire to preserve their cultural heritage and provide children with the tools they need to thrive in an increasingly diverse world. However, we also uncovered the systemic barriers that hinder the realization of these aspirations, including the scarcity of high quality bilingual programs and the inconsistency between parental expectations and the children's language development trajectories. Ladies and gentlemen, despite these challenges, it's important to recognize the immense opportunities that bilingualism affords, where bilingualism not only enhances cognitive abilities but also fosters social connections and open doors to academic opportunities. By acknowledging these benefits and actively working to address these impediments, we can create an environments that support bilingualism effectively. And that is the conclusion, or that is how I concluded my case study report before moving on to the recommendation. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, are the recommendations, where these are my extra opinions on how we can deal with the bilingualism issues in the findings. A crucial step towards fostering inclusive learning environment is to implement mandatory cultural sensitivity training for educators. This training equips educators with the knowledge and skills necessary to create classrooms that respect and celebrate linguistic and cultural diversity. For example, educators can learn about the cultural nuances and language dynamics present in Latino families, for example, or any immigrant families, enabling them to better support students from this type of immigrant backgrounds. All right, by understanding the cultural context of their students, educators can create inclusive learning environments where all students feel valued and supported. Moreover, cultural sensitivity training can encompass topics such as implicit bias, microaggressions, and culturally responsive teaching practices. And by raising awareness of these issues and providing educators with strategies to address them, cultural sensitivity training helps to mitigate the impact of biases and create more equitable educational experiences for all students. And ladies and gentlemen, in addition to cultural sensitivity training to educators just now, the development of virtual bilingual learning platforms also offer an innovative solution to enhance inclusivity and accessibility in bilingual education. For example, platforms like Duolingo or Rosetta offer virtual language learning tools that allow students to learn at their own pace and in their preferred language. By developing virtual bilingual learning platforms tailored to the needs of immigrant families, we can overcome the barriers such as geographical constraints and limited access to bilingual educational resources. These platforms can provide access to high quality bilingual education materials, cultural resources, and parental support, empowering families to engage in bilingual education from the comfort of their homes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my recommendation part and also concludes my presentation of the case study report, ladies and gentlemen. Now, without further ado, let's straight away go into our Q&A session. And as I mentioned earlier, there are some very good questions and unique questions that are submitted by people worldwide to be discussed and to be answered upon. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's continue with our Q&A session. The first question was given to us by one of our Spanish family or Spanish community where they asked, ¿Cómo se pueden superar las barreras potenciales para implementar estas soluciones? Which translates to how can potential barriers to implementing these solutions be overcome? So that is the question. A very good and wonderful questions. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at what are the potential answer for this question. To overcome, ladies and gentlemen, to overcome potential barriers to implementing bilingual education solutions, stakeholders should prioritize communication and collaboration. They can also focus on seeking policy support and allocating resources effectively, which can address financial constraints. Also, providing comprehensive training and support for educators and parents equips them to actively participate and advocate for bilingual education. Also, addressing systemic issues such as language proficiency requirements and cultural biases ensures inclusivity. Additionally, establishing robust monitoring and evaluation mechanisms allows for ongoing assessment, enabling timely adjustments to strategies and ensuring the sustained success of bilingual education initiatives. And though that is the translation of the answer in Spanish for our Spanish family to read and look upon. Thank you so much for this wonderful question. Moving on to the second question. The second question, ladies and gentlemen, which was given to us by one of our Indian family, Indian community, where the question says, வழக்கு ஆய்வின் முக்கிய கண்டுபிடிப்புகள் மற்றும் பரிந்துரைகளை ஒரு சில வாக்கியங்களில் சுருக்கமாக கூற முடியுமா? So which translates to, can you summarize the key findings and recommendations of the case study in a few sentences? Yes, of course I can. Now let's take a look at the answer for this question. So, ladies and gentlemen, the case study identifies challenges for Latino families in achieving bilingualism, such as limited access of quality bilingual programs, disparities in the language development trajectories of the children. Recommendations, on the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, include advocating for bilingual education, fostering positive attitudes towards minority languages, and collaborating to address barriers and support bilingualism within immigrant communities. And that is the translation. Below is the translation of the answer for our Indian family to read upon. I hope that answers your question. And thank you so much for that wonderful question. Moving on to our third question. The third question, ladies and gentlemen, was given to me by one of our Japanese family or community, where the question goes, ケーススタディの結果によると、子供のバイリンガルを育てる上で、親などのような役割を果たしていますか? So which translates to, what role do parents play in fostering bilingualism in their children according to the findings of the case study? Thank you so much for this wonderful question. Now let's take a look at the potential answer for this question. So, according to the findings of the case study, parents play a crucial role in fostering bilingualism in their children. They are responsible for creating a language rich environment at home, actively engaging with their children in activities that can promote language development in both languages, and advocating for bilingual education opportunities in schools and communities. Additionally, parents serve as cultural and linguistic models for their children, reinforcing the value and importance of bilingualism within the familiar context. I hope that answers your question. And here and below is the translation for our Japanese family to look upon and read the answer. Thank you so much for this wonderful question once again. Now to our fourth question. The fourth question, ladies and gentlemen, how can technology help overcome barriers to bilingual education for language minority families? All right, now for the answer of this question, technology serves as a crucial bridge for language minority families in accessing bilingual education resources and supporting their children's language development. Online learning platforms and educational apps offer a wide range of interactive tools and materials, allowing families to supplement classroom instruction and practice language skills at their own pace. Virtual tutoring sessions provide additional support tailored to individual learning needs, enhancing comprehension and fluency. Moreover, digital communication tools facilitate seamless collaboration between parents and educators, enabling regular updates on the progress and strategies for reinforcing language learning at home. I hope this answers the question. And if you have further questions or more inquiries to ask me, you may contact me through the details below. You can email me or either message me in WhatsApp. So, with that, I would like to conclude our whole presentation for today. Thank you so much for staying until the end. I hope you have gained a valuable insight on bilingualism and on the challenges as well as the solutions to overcome it. Thank you and hope to see you again soon.